I'm Yuri.
I'm Jakub.
And we Velar.
Jaguar.
Going for a drive.
(2018) Jaguar F-Pace S.
2018 Range Rover Velar.
Nope, that's actually the 2018 Land Rover Range Rover Velar P380 R-Dynamic HSE.
But I was close, right?
You're pretty close. Missing a couple letters, syllables, consonants, words.
So what's the point of this comparison?
Well, these are both made by the same company. Jaguar Land Rover owns Jaguar and Land Rover.
So they're the exact same cars, right? Because they've got the same infotainment, the same keys, and the same shifting thing.
They are not the same cars. They're very, very, very similar, but we'll touch on why they're different later.
So we're gonna find out which one's our favorite, right?
Oh, we are by the end of this. But first, I think we should do the similarities because there's a lot.
Should we test the visors?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
No!
Fail.
Fail. The no extension, nothing.
Double fail. Okay.
Come on, Jaguar Land Rover.
Next one is the box test. Which one fits more boxes? Place your bets now. This is the best way to stack boxes.
And 11.
Wait, why does that box have a 5 on it?
Oh, remember when we had 5,000 subscribers?
The good old days.
Yeah. Well, here we go. 11.
My feet left the ground. All right, now we're ready.
Still going.
Is it still going?
Still going, man. That's it.
11, 12. The ride height was easier to load as well.
It did one more. We
that-
should probably do the Jag again then.
Was that user error? 11, 12.
Oh man. Did it do it?
I'm the pack master.
Apparently I suck at packing boxes.
What a shocker. The F-Pace actually has slightly more liters, which is why we do the box test, because liters don't actually matter in the real world.
Nobody carries large bags of milk to fill their cars up.
You know bags of milk are only a Canadian thing?
Shout out bags of milk.
So we both have 3-liter supercharged V6s putting out 380 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque.
It doesn't feel like that. It feels a little slower.
They're fast, but they're not really fast.
They're quick. They're not fast.
They're quick, fair enough. Next similarity, they both have ZF 8-speed transmissions.
I've got paddles. Do you have paddles?
Yes, we do. While they are quick, they're not the fastest shifting transmissions. They're okay. There's a lot of downshift lag if you don't use the paddles.
Yes, I noticed so much. Like when you mat it, it like takes a while to get everything going.
Yeah, it's just downshift lag, so you have to use the paddles to be in the right gear, otherwise they're really slow. And they're both pretty much just as fast as each other. It's kind of whoever jumps the gun wins the race if you had a theoretical drag race.
Raise your hand if you have air suspension.
I cannot raise my hand.
My air suspension goes up so high in loading mode and so low in the cool sport mode.
You also have a bunch of off-road modes, so if you go into those different modes, it actually lifts the whole car way up.
Yeah, so this is a legit off-roading machine, even though you or anyone else who ever buys this will never go off-roading in it.
Yes, that's very true. No one will be off-roading that, but it is apparently quite capable. We will not be testing that today, unfortunately.
All right, let's get into looks because these are similar size. They do have similarities in the looks, but they're also very different.
So, because we're just talking about suspension, let's start with the wheels.
I've got 22s in the Range Rover.
And I'm rolling on dubs with 20s. They both have blackout packages.
I really like the blackout package on the Jag.
I love it on both. The Velar looks menacing. It's just blacked out, looks aggressive, amazing. I actually love how that car looks.
And the Jag looks a lot sportier without the chrome. I think the chrome makes it look more of an old person SUV.
Yeah, fair enough. This is definitely not an old person SUV, but I think it's the more old person friendly SUV.
And that's because of the infotainment, which we'll touch on later. Okay, back to looks. I've got a cool little R dynamic badge on the door and you've got the S badge on the grille.
And this is the S, so it actually gets different wheels, different little body kit, all that kind of stuff. It looks a lot better than the non-S.
You've got red brake calipers on the Jaguar and I do not have anything special on the Range Rover.
That's right, and the red brake calipers are part of the S package.
S for race car.
S for sport.
Next comparison, headlights. I think they're both winners. I really can't pick a definite winner with headlights on these two.
They both look really good in their own way. The Jags are more aggressive, but the Range Rover are a lot more classy.
And then the taillights, I think the Range Rover's got a little bit of edge, but the F-Pace ones are very nice too.
I really like the look of the rear end of the Jag. It just looks so much better than the Velar rear end.
I don't fully agree with you, but I see where you're coming from.
It's just so much more aggressive in the Jag, but the Velar's got this kind of weird bubble to it.
They both have very similar rear spoilers and rear trunk lid shapes. I like them both equally.
And they both have dual exhaust, but the Jags looks better and sounds way better. Here's a little rev battle.
And the Jags is actually connected to the exhaust. It's not fake covers.
That's right, no fake tips here.
Also, what's weird about the suspension of both these cars, the Jaguar sits higher even though it's technically sportier handling, right?
That's what bothers me the most about the look of the F-Pace, the wheel gap. It looks like it should be a monster off-road, but this is an on-road car. They can both tow, because these are SUVs, they both tow over 5,000 pounds, but the Velar can actually tow slightly more. Which one do you think looks better overall?
I guess Velar, even though I really like the Jag, especially in this color.
I think the Jag looks really sporty, but I prefer the look of the Velar. It's just so menacing, especially in black with the blackout package.
Okay, so let's switch up the cars, get into the infotainment and all the crazy stuff that really differentiate these two cars. SUVs.
First thing I noticed getting into the Velar, the seating position. I really prefer the seating position in the F-Pace. It kind of feels more race SUV. You feel like you're sitting in it.
I didn't really notice that, but I do like the white interior a lot more in the F-Pace.
However, getting into the Velar, I'm already stressed out with all of these screens.
Yeah, okay, so they have a similar infotainment. However, the Velar has an extra screen to control your climate and seats and other stuff where everything is packed into the infotainment on the F-Pace, and then we've got buttons for climate.
Don't forget about my steering wheel controls in the Velar that actually change what they do when you press them.
That is amazing, but we're not at the steering wheel yet. The start-stop button in the Range Rover is where it should be, in the same start-stop button placement as every other car in the world. But with the F-Pace, the start-stop button is where the volume knob should be, the volume knob is where the tuning knob should be, and tuning is touch-controlled in the infotainment, which sucks hard.
The only thing that I don't like about the start-stop placement in the Velar is that it's on a weird angle. That's it.
But is it hard? The steering wheel comes down, you can put your hand in there before it starts. It's perfect.
I disagree.
I would rather have a volume knob and a tuning knob than a start-stop button in the open.
I agree.
Next thing, this can actually rewind satellite radios. Both of them can rewind 6 stations. However, controlling the rewinding is so bad, you can't actually click a back button. You need to slide across the slider, guess where a song was. So because of that, even though it's a pass, it also gets a hard, disappointing look of disappointment. My screen is static, it doesn't move or anything, but what about the one in the Range Rover?
The Range Rover screen, you can actually change the angle of it through the settings, which is insane.
Yeah, you'd never want it flush. You'd always want it angled towards you so you don't get a glare, but it is cool that it lets you do that.
Yeah, it's very impressive. This whole interior in the Velar is very impressive to anyone that sits in it.
You can also make both infotainments black or white. I think if you're doing it in white, you're a crazy person. These things should stay in black mode.
Oh yeah, you're an absolute psycho if you use white on this car.
I can kind of see, but if I set it to white, then it's fine. So you really need to leave this thing in auto. On to the gauges. We both have fully digital gauges. I like the one in the Velar a lot more. I don't think they look as good in the F-Pace. And even when you go through the settings, you can't find a setting that works really well.
The Velar gauges are actually beautiful. They look really good. They're a little bit laggy, but I think the ones in the Jaguar are even more laggy, so I dislike them even more because of that.
My biggest pet peeve with the Jaguar gauges is there's always the speed limit shown above the speedometer, and the speedometer is not big enough. It doesn't prioritize things properly.
The best part about the Velar gauges is that you can make them a full map.
We can also do that in the Jaguar, but it will not start up in full map mode. You have to do that every single time.
Both maps look very similar to Google Maps, and they look really nice.
Yeah, my favorite part is when you zoom in on certain buildings, you'll have 3D renderings of images of the buildings superimposed, which is very cool.
The steering wheel controls in the Velar are very overwhelming because they actually change, like I said.
It is overwhelming, but it's very intuitive as well.
I wouldn't call it intuitive, but I would say it's okay once you get used to it.
And as for the Jaguar, we've got these big chunky buttons, which kind of look weird. They feel weird, but it's very easy to know where your fingers are. However, they are a little bit squeaky, which I kind of wouldn't want to have in a Jaguar, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. And there's something I don't like about the Velar steering wheel. It is heated, and it has this metal ring in the front, so only the back of the steering wheel gets heated, because if the front got heated, you'd be heating metal, so you'd be burning yourself all the time. So the front is always kind of cold, and the back is always hot. It's weird.
You know what though? I do like holding that metal steering wheel more than the Jaguar steering wheel.
Oh, I fully agree, but it's just kind of weird that it's metal and cold and half of it's hot.
While we're on the steering wheel, the way you control your lane keep assist is from the steering wheel, and it sucks.
It's not very good in both, but you control it the same way. Just don't use it. Don't ever rely on it.
It's not autopilot, it's more like bounce you off the line, but then it bounces you to the point where you're pretty much pong.
One final screen that we haven't talked about, because only the Velar has this screen.
And that's the most impressive part about the Velar.
I control all of my climate, all of my seat settings, all of my vehicle settings, and all of my other main settings through this massive screen.
I think the best part of that screen is that the buttons and knobs are dynamic. When you click something, the graphic inside changes. You can click that button and just cycle through all your options.
It is very cool, and that part I find very intuitive.
It's very impressive. It's a lot of extra steps to get things done, but whoever's in your passenger seat is going to be more than impressed.
Yes, and they'll be very comfortable because this one actually has massage seats, and you can program it to automatically start 5 minutes after you start driving, and it's the best.
It's the best, except I didn't realize what was happening, so I had to call you and ask.
Yeah, that's true. But we both have heated and cooled seats, and they're both very, very comfortable.
That is true, but can we keep talking about the infotainment a little bit more, please?
Okay, fine. So we do have a little Stig helmet, aka race helmet, in the Range Rover. So if you put it into the dynamic mode, you can actually go into race mode, and this has a lap timer for some reason. I have no idea why this thing has a lap timer.
It's just to impress people, man. That's the whole car.
Yeah, I guess you could show them your impressive lap times from your SUV.
No, just impressed that it has it. But what I do not like about parking, we've got a nice reverse camera, we have a 360 camera, but you can't use your 360 camera while reversing.
It just defaults you back to your backup camera for some reason and only shows the 360 camera in the smallest part of the screen. It's the weirdest thing.
You literally can't show the 360 camera while reversing. That's the worst. Like, that's one of the best parking aids, and you disable it. But you have it.
Yeah, it has it. It's just, you can't use it for some reason. I don't get it.
Okay, speaking of impressive differences, I've got regular old door handles on the Jaguar. What do you have on the Range Rover, Jacob?
I got fancy door handles that pop out when you press the button or when you unlock them and then retract back into the car.
Give those door handles a 10 out of 10. I'm always impressed to see them. Is that our first 10 out of 10 door handle rating?
I think it is. I think it's our actual first door handle rating. In terms of size, which we haven't really talked about that much, they're both pretty much identical. The F-Pace is the top SUV for Jaguar. The Velar is the brand new middle child for the Range Rover family. It sits just above the Evoque and just below the Range Rover Sport. But between these two, the Jag is definitely the sportier one, sounds better, looks more aggressive, handles better. I think that's the winner if you want the sporty one. But if you want the luxurious one, definitely the Velar.
As for interiors, I do like the seats in the Jaguar more, but I think it's because I like white seats. What I do not like about the Jaguar is the lighting at night. It's got that cyan lighting, which is the same as General Motors lighting. And not that I have anything against General Motors, but I don't want GM lighting in a Jag. I don't want this to feel like a Chevy Cruze.
I know exactly what you mean, and it's a little bit odd that they picked that color for some reason.
It just, Chevy Cruze, file a lawsuit. I've been waiting the whole review to say this. The cup holders, literally the worst. They've got these air bumps and rubberized, so when you put it in, it'll grip your cup, but it's so grippy that like you need to force it down, and then to pull it out, you have to pull so hard that you feel like you're gonna rip the lid off and it's gonna go flying.
They're both the same in both cars. I think they would be really good for plastic or metal bottles, but coffee cups, complete fail.
However, the Range Rover does have a square one right next to it, so you could always put your cup there. It does have a button that pops up one of the cup holders, which is very cool. And in that cup holder, it's got a slot so you can put your cell phone in there.
And while we're in this section down here, So much gloss black, so much dust, so many fingerprints, but it looks really nice. So I guess they get points for that.
I think we both have heated rear seats as well and rear climate. We just want to point that out.
And we also have rear reclining seats in both cars, which is really cool.
The window switch placement, it's up high on the Jaguar.
Oh yeah, it's so weird. It's really annoying. The Velar's is perfect. It's exactly where you expect it.
The interior patterns look really cool, especially in the Velar. You got that brushed steel look.
Yeah, that brushed steel looks amazing, and that's actually a $0 option.
Okay, now let's talk about the prices and the options.
So the F-Pace starts off cheaper at just over $51,000, and the Velar starts at just over $62,000. But both of these have over $30,000 in options.
Yeah, that's like two Kia Rios in options.
So the F-Pace is just over $80,000, and the Velar is just over $90,000.
Which one would you take?
Man, I really like how the F-Pace drives. I was actually really impressed by that. It was actually kind of sporty. However, overall, I think the Velar is the one that I would get because it's so luxurious and it looks amazing.
Looks-wise, I think the Jag's a little nicer, but like gimmicky-wise and technology-wise, I gotta love that Velar.
Yeah, the Velar is just really, really impressive.
And lastly, my friend Joey, one of his coworkers, is cross-shopping an XC60 with a Velar, and she wants to know which one to buy. So Jacob, let her know.
Does she like technology?
I don't know. I don't know anything about her.
Okay, if she likes technology, definitely go for the Velar. The Velar is seriously impressive. However, I think the Volvo drives better and is actually more comfortable.
So a little more comfort and class over a little more tech.
Yeah, but this thing looks way better than the Volvo does. The Velar just looks amazing.
And on that note, take it away, Jacob.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and patreon.com/TheStraightPipes.
Where you can see next week's videos as soon as we're done editing them.
Yeah, we got some cool rewards like that, so check it out.
I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're going for a drive. Subscription break. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe right now. Subscribe. We didn't do that.